Hello everyone, happy you could be here. Let's dive in. Sit at My Grave, Season 3, Ego's Death, Chapter 39. So, what's been your favorite part of visiting here so far? Chrissy questioned. The two had made it out of the house together, Chrissy taking the time to show Arden all the places she frequented, saying he needed to take it all in one last time. Arden frowned as he walked beside her, hands shoved into his pockets. This had never been about an innocent visit. It was hard to make it sound like that, talking to someone like Chrissy. As their little day out had gone on further, the only thing Arden could think about was Edmund and that knife. I don't know, it's all just been a lot, Arden told her with a shrug. I wouldn't mind if he said it was meeting me, Chrissy mumbled. What? Arden asked, frowning. Arden, if someone threw a ball right at you, do you think you could catch it? She asked, glancing at him. Arden stopped walking, arching an eyebrow. I was ready for it, I guess, but I've never really been into sports, he answered before walking along with her again. Chrissy snickered to herself and kept going. So, did you come all this way just for my grandfather? What was this trip about? Chrissy asked, shivering a bit as the wind began picking up. I came here to study, he told her. Study? Oh, are you like an abroad student or something? She questioned. Something like that, Arden answered. As much as he wanted to unload the weight in his chest to someone, he couldn't fully shake what happened last time, just talk with her about her family. He still had to deduce what exactly happened and what that horrible face had been. He just couldn't risk himself or anyone else. Just his bird alone, I suppose. The thing that told him no, that haunted his brain. He really wished he knew what he was meant not to do. Do you want to see a secret? She suddenly asked, putting her finger on her lip as if to shush him. It doesn't take long. You need to head back soon, Arden answered, glancing back in the direction they came. She rolled her eyes a bit, grabbed his hand. Come on, it's a path, she told him. She took him along with her. It leads off to the forest. A lot of locals go in the forest for mushroom picking, especially around this season. This spot almost always has a bunch, since it's blocked off, and no one can get into it that easily. It's informed as he trudged along. Arden frowned, cursing quietly as he was scraped against thorns and branches going deep into the forest. This was right. It was pretty far from the town he was starting to get used to. It looked almost as if that path should have led off to another part of town, but now it was overgrown. They had to climb around two large fallen trees just to get there. It was no easy task. Arden found himself tripping up as he kept up with Chrissy. Here it is! Just don't tell my parents we came out here together. Chrissy laughed. She walked around the forest floor once they made it to the clearing. Arden began dusting himself off, pulling twigs out of his hair. Is there a reason they act so crazy about you going anywhere? Arden questioned, looking around the place. Chrissy got a saddened smile on her face. It's not their fault, really. I teased them about it, but I really should be more careful, she told him. Why? Arden questioned, looking at her. She tucked the straight hair behind her ear, letting out a shuddery breath. I'm their only child, but I'm not the firstborn, Chrissy said gently. Arden's expression shifted. I'd always hated people doing or saying things like this with him. He never felt like it helped, but his situation was different. I'm sorry about your loss, Arden told her. Chrissy smiled at him. Thank you. Thing is, I feel bad about it, but I never met my sibling. There are complications straight after their birth from what I hear, she further explained, picking at plants beneath her, keeping herself busy. Arden just stood watching her. They don't like talking about it. They only really told me because I sold pictures, she continued. She stopped and got closer to Arden, smirking a bit. Are you just a good listener, or do you not know what to say? She questioned, catching the shock on Arden's face. My family's dealt with a loss recently. The necklace I always wear was a gift from who I lost. So I hope you and your family will be alright, Arden muttered. He truthfully didn't know much of what to do, but he was trying not to let his awkwardness turn to bitterness. Just because he didn't know what to say didn't mean you should just dismiss anyone or stay silent. He was learning that the hard way. There was so much more he could talk about regarding his loss, but he really only brought that up to relate to her in that moment. Chrissy never knew her sibling and was still upset, while for him, Reed hadn't only been his brother, but his closest friend, whether he realized it too late or not. That's really sweet, I'm sorry for your loss too, she told him, before leaning in to give him a hug. She pulled back quickly, not giving Arden a chance to reject or hug her back really. We should get back home. I don't want you to miss your flight. There's a gift though, if you want it, she said. She backed up a little before handing Arden a piece of paper with a number on it. A phone number? Arden questioned with a frown. In case you ever get homesick for Elma, she told him with a gentle smile on her lips. Come on, we should get going, she said, taking his hand. The evening sun enveloped the town in a shimmering orange hue. People were still out enjoying the day, while others headed in for dinner. Arden and Chrissy made it back home, seeing light pouring in from behind the house's curtains. They paused briefly, Chrissy insisting that they get a little of the twigs and stuff out of each other's hair, try to clean off the dirt before they went in, giggling as she did so. Once they stepped inside, they heard music playing lightly, while Celia and Helga were talking with someone in the living room. Grandfather! Chrissy commented with a smile upon hearing his voice. She quickly kicked off her shoes at the door before rushing over to the other room. Arden took his own off, his eyes widening. It's time, he thought. Edvin was here. This was one of the main reasons for him even traveling all this way. This is the moment he would get to see if he made the right choices or not. He spent a long time here, but it was all for naught. Edvin had nothing for him. His ticket said he left tonight, but did he leave a failure or step closer to bringing his brother home? The air shifted as Arden entered the living room. That hazy heaviness swarmed his brain. Crackles of unintelligible words crackled through his head like static. Quiet enough to ignore, loud enough to still know what was there regardless. Chrissy sat on the couch beside her grandfather, hugging onto him. Celia sat on the other side, arms slung around him, while Helga was sipping tea, seated on a chair near them. Arden forced the saliva down his dry throat, eyeing the family from where he stood. Before they could hear, they were fully speaking in their language to each other, and a thought crossed his mind. Did Edvin even know English? Arden, don't be a stranger, come on over. Celia waved him on. Arden carefully made his way in, trying not to stare at Edvin, though his focus was stuck. This fine fellow right here is my father, Edvin Neely, Celia announced proudly, putting his hands on his shoulders, grinning at him. Edvin turned his attention to Arden, offering a polite smile. He outstretched his hand to shake, and Arden took it. Till he couldn't help but notice, Edvin looked rougher than Emil had. He had just assumed both were around the same age, yet Edvin had more worry creases in his forehead, and much more darkening under his eyes. Celia told his father something in their language, which Arden could translate to him explaining why he was there, and about running into Emil. Emil, you knew Emil? Edvin questioned. There was a certain shock in his voice, like just the name alone brought back thousands of memories. From the look on his face, Arden couldn't tell if they were all happy or not. I met him on the plane, Arden replied. The plane? Edvin questioned, doing a hand motion. Yes, Arden confirmed. He was getting anxious. There was so much information he could get from this man. Everything lately had some type of blockage in his way, and he didn't have a lot of time to figure all of this out. Celia began explaining some things to his father again before turning to Arden. He was curious what message Emil had for him after all this time, Celia explained. He said he wanted to catch up again. He's in the country now visiting family, Arden told him. He spoke to Celia but watched Edvin. It was clear he didn't fully understand him, but from what he did, his expressions changed drastically. Arden knew something odd had to be going on, but unless diving into whatever was happening to the Neelys would help him, he really couldn't get involved. As much as he was learning how hard it was to have such a burden on your own, and was now getting sympathetic over it, he knew he had to stay on his own goal, lest he lose what he'd been working so hard to gain back. Edvin mumbled something and shook his head. Celia got a concerned look on his face, glancing towards his wife, who got up and left the room abruptly. What? Arden asked, looking at them. He's not sure where they can see each other again. He's hoping at some point when things aren't, so busy, Celia told him. Grandpa, are you okay? Chrissy asked, hugging him, looking at his face with concern. Edvin patted her head tenderly, with a slightly shaky hand, giving a smile of reassurance. There is something else I wanted to ask about, Arden started. He knew Emil warned him to be careful asking, and Chrissy herself said she even gotten in trouble for talking about it, but he had to get something. "Can we get a moment alone?" Arden requested, glancing exilly to Chrissy. "Okay, don't talk all night," Chrissy jokingly warned him, sitting up. "Come on, Dad," she said, tugging him along before he could answer properly. "I'll be right in the other room," quickly told his dad before he left along with Chrissy. He gave one last glance at Arden, but left regardless. Arden pulled out his phone, using it to help himself communicate properly with Edvin. He took in a deep breath, letting it out. He had put a lot of stock into this trip, placing a lot on the line with every step he took. Time to see if it all pays off, he thought. "If it's all right, I wanted to ask a few personal questions," Arden started. Edvin seemed skeptical, but agreed. Arden didn't know how to carefully ask these. A lot of these questions needed direct answers. Just had to hope Edvin would be willing, just like his friend was. "I heard from your son and granddaughter this house has been in your family for a while," Arden led. "It has," Edvin confirmed. "You inherited it, correct?" Arden asked, eyeing him. Edvin narrowed his gaze. "Yes," he said. "From your father, the same one whose study you and Emil used to get in as young boys?" Arden pushed further. He could see the frown coming on Edvin's face. He didn't know what happened exactly, and while he was sympathetic if it was something like his situation, he still couldn't help but feel the frustration build up. "You are telling me my own history. Is there a point to this?" Edvin asked sharply. Arden's body became tight. He didn't want subtle. "So be it. I wanted to ask if you knew anything about what went on in that study. I assumed you knew more since you grew up here, before it was locked off," Arden questioned, glancing from the way Edvin tensed up to the aggravated look in his eyes. "Locked off," Edvin repeated, getting himself up before Arden could continue. "What were you doing traversing another man's home to find it, boy?" he sneered. Arden sat, blinking at him. He knew they were private people, but he hadn't expected it to start going bad so fast, especially after how the rest of the family reacted to him. "Like I said, I was told about it beforehand," Arden answered back. "Just because you're told about something and get curious doesn't mean you can go snooping. What gives you that right?" Edvin scolded. "You said I could ask questions. What's your problem now?" Arden sassed back. He stood up along with him. "I never said I was obligated to answer those questions, though, did I?" Edvin responded. "Why agree to letting me ask then? This is important. I don't have time for this nonsense circle speech." Arden boiled over. "You've got some nerve, you brat. There's a way to speak to people, and this isn't it." Edvin continued scolding him. Arden scoffed. He took a step back, but still felt determined to get something despite his own anger. "Listen to me. I'm just trying to get some information. I came all this way for it. I've even been working on this farm for your family. I need—" Arden tried to convince him. "I'm done speaking to you," Edvin roared, putting his hand up to him. He grabbed his cane to leave. Arden's eyes widened, his heartbeat quickening. It couldn't end like this. "Wait!" Arden urged. "I said I'm done. Leave me alone," Edvin told him nastily, turning away from him. "The Edelon Maledictio, what does your family have to do with it?" Arden quickly yelled. Edvin stopped in his tracks, gripping his cane hard with shaking hands. "Shut up," he growled. Arden gritted his teeth. The air shifted considerably. The tension almost hurt to speak in, but he couldn't stop. "The Kurotu Kafari. Did your father ever hear of a Puho knife like that? Did he have it? Where is it?" Arden's questions came bubbling out. "Silence yourself," Edvin shouted. His shriveled voice came out strong. Enraged, he turned around, lifting his cane off the ground. Before Arden could register what was happening fully, Edvin swung his cane at him, beating him across the flesh of his side, making him yelp out in pain as he was sent onto the floor. He accidentally knocked over the cups on the coffee table, sending things crashing onto the floor with him. Noise stirred in a few rooms over as the other Neelys began taking notice of the commotion going on. Shock overpowered the pained look on Arden's face as Edvin snarled down at him. He was much older and shaky, but it was clear he'd kept strength from his previous work. "When an adult tells you to quiet your mouth, you close it, brat," he shouted at him, pointing his cane downwards towards Arden's glistening eyes. "I don't want to hear about that book or that mumbo-jumbo witchcraft ever again. If the room's been locked off, it's for a darn good reason. He may not have been here today, but my father Mateo, he could have been with us for more years he hadn't become such a swollen-headed man. If he stopped being so obsessed before they... Edvin ranted, stuttering at the end, a look of anger, resentment deep set into his eyes. Father, what happened? Exley questioned. He rushed to his aid, holding his shoulders protectively, while Arden got up, using the table as leverage, his side throbbing with pain, making him flinch and grit his teeth. His whimper barely paid attention to. They did something. I know they did. He wouldn't have just... They were against him. Maybe they should have been... Oh, that fool! Edvin continued his rant. Exili's grip on him became tighter, a look of understanding coming over him. Listen, that was a long time ago. You have to calm down. So he spoke in a calm, stern voice. Hulka watched from a distance before slowly exiting. Grandpa, Chrissy spoke sadly, watching him. She reached towards him, but Exley stopped her with a single look. Go to your room, he told her. Chrissy nodded before rushing away. She paused only briefly, giving a sympathetic look to Arden, and looked pained to her, but still left. It's that boy, that wicked boy. He brought up all these things, these bad memories. Edvin spat harshly, shaking his head. He seemed to relax more now, but clearly he'd gone through something traumatic. He hadn't yet made peace with any of it, still conflicted with multiple aspects, despite the years past. It was hard for Arden to concentrate now, but he was slightly piecing a few things together. Chrissy had told him her great-grandfather disappeared years ago, and now he was hearing Edvin was fed up with the book and such. His father, who he now knew as Mateo, must have owned it, and it seemed the rest of the family wanted nothing to do with him or that room anymore. Arden was interested, as eerie as it all was, but still, even as he was in pain, adrenaline pumping, this still didn't give him what he needed. Arden's whole body stilled, hearing muttering that piqued his ears. Who knew getting rid of these things could bring it back to us? He was unsure who said it, but everything at once was sending his mind into a frenzy. He hardly had a chance to contemplate it when suddenly his arm was roughly seized, making him get up straight to his feet. I thank you for your hard work, but it's time for you to leave our home. Exili's serious tone startled Arden, but being handled like that, Arden was about to try and snatch away. He gave a glance at Exili's expression and thought better of it. Let me get my things, Arden spoke quietly. Exili nodded, unhanding him. He walked off, guiding Edvin away with him.